there guys, PC Guy here, and as you know, when you get a motherboard, there is always software that comes included with it. But is that software actually useful, and should you even bother using it? Let's see, I have a Maximus XI Hero from Asus that I got when I upgraded my PC last time, and I've been meaning to do a video showing you guys what software comes included when you get specifically an ROG motherboard like this, and how good it is, how useful it is, and is it worth having it installed and using it. Now I'll give you a bit by bit breakdown of each piece of software. I hope it is useful for you guys. The video might draw out a little bit longer because some parts are a bit more complicated and have a bit more features than others, but I'll try to keep it short. Now, hope it is useful for you guys, and yeah, let's see what we start with. Let's start off with the first one, Easy Update. Now, although it has Easy Update in the name, it does not do much in terms of updating. In theory, it would connect to the Asus servers and alert you and download when there is a new version for your BIOS available. This does not happen. There has been a version of the BIOS available that is more recent than mine already for a month or so in the Asus website. I have not installed it because I don't see the need to mess with it if it doesn't bring a massive performance increase, which it doesn't, and I have no complaints about my system stability right now, so why mess with it? In any case, the version is available, and as you can see, there is literally nothing. It even tells me I'm not connected to the internet, uh, although I am, and then proceeds to tell me that there is no update available. So as you can see, yeah, it doesn't really do much. On the other hand, it's not really very easy to get rid of it unless you get rid of AI Suite as well. So you just let it sit there, I suppose. Armoury Crate is very similar to Easy Update, except instead of handling the BIOS, it handles basically every other application that your motherboard has in terms of firmware. As you can see, it has a landing page with some news and events and all that sort of stuff related to Asus and computer hardware from Asus and ROG. It has a small user center you can log in to your Asus account if you want to, as well as a message box in case you get messages from Asus for whatever reason that might be. But its true use is a tools center. Now, if you click here on the tools, it should give you a list of drivers and utilities that you can update. In this case, as you can see, there's a few here for like audio drivers, Intel Ethernet drivers, and others, as well as here under BIOS, you have here an old BIOS that is not the latest anymore. And the same goes for the utilities. You have here all the list of the utilities that come included with your motherboard, which are the ones that I'm covering right now. I will not cover some, I might add, like WinRAR, Kaspersky. I will not cover those because I don't see the point. Same for Google Chrome. But as you can see, it suffers from the same problem as Easy Update. It does not give you the latest version. The latest version offered by the Armoury Crate, for example, for Chrome is the 58 version, while I have the 72 already. Same for Aura. 1.7.22, while the newest that I downloaded from the website is 1.7.36. So if you really want your stuff kept up to date, you really have to check the Asus website because Armoury Crate is very late with implementing those updates. That said, you could keep it and just launch it every few months just to check, but it's not a reliable thing if you really want to keep everything as up to date as possible. Now this is AI Suite 3. Now this is the reason I had to re-record this video because it took way too long and I went into way too much detail, so I'll try to do it faster this time. And I'll start by saying that the AI overclocking and 5-way optimization that you see here is a feature of AI Suite, is also a reason why I bought this motherboard, and I'll just say I am not using it right now, and I don't think I will ever. And I will expand to that on a separate video because that is a topic that I will have to show you and I will have to address extensively. So I will start with the other features. Now on the landing page right here you can see a bunch of information like CPU frequency, voltage, temperature, and you can actually adjust thresholds for it. For example, you can make it so your fan starts to throttle a bit, so your CPU starts to throttle when it's at 82. You can adjust it or decrease it. Same for the fans. You can cap the speed, or you can make the fans always go at a minimum of a certain speed. Now, This is a problem already that I have with the software. It might be a problem with the settings I have or not, but it conflicts. The settings here come into conflict with the settings that I have. For example, on the BIOS, as far as fan curves go, and it always starts, the PC always starts at this RPM, which is not what I have set up. And if I go here, and I'm kind of skipping a bit, if I go to Fan Expert, which is what controls your fans and what lets you set a fan curve, it just automatically goes to the standard whenever the PC boots, even though I have a custom one here that I have to manually load and then it ramps up. What happens is that I load it and I'll just leave it running, and in like a couple of hours, I'm going to start hearing the fans sounding differently, and it's back to the standard profile without me touching it. So that's a sort of conflict that I do not like, and I don't really love it. And I'll expand on that in a second. TPU Insight, for example, it allows you to adjust your CPU settings such as voltage, frequency, and the like. Now, it's nice that you can adjust it here. The question is, how does it interact with the BIOS as well? Does it also come into conflict as the fans do? And if it does, is this really something that you want to have conflicts on your frequency and voltage and stuff like that? That kind of makes me a bit wary of using this for overclocking purposes. Although it could work perfectly well, and the fans could just be an outlier because of an error on my part. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. In any case, how does this work? I have actually not tried it because of what I just said, but if it just saves your settings, and next time you reboot, it loads them into the BIOS and keeps them there, and everything is synced up nicely and working harmoniously, then it is actually a nice user-friendly way to adjust your overclocking profile. But like I said, I have not tried it yet, but it is here if you wish to. Now here it lets you on the Turbo app, lets you adjust turbo settings for specific applications. Like, well, as you can see, I actually have it off, but if I turn it on, I can go to the settings and adjust, for example, the friend profile that I want when that application is running. As you can see, the custom that I have is not there. So yeah, and as you can see here, it already went back to the fan profile that I deselected. So yeah, that's life, I guess. Under EPU guidance, you have a few performance related things like away mode that you can set up for how long it takes to kick in to turn off your system and such. The standard fan profile, which again does not show the custom one that I have, and this might actually be a cause for the conflicts that I have that are basically, yeah, resetting my fans every once in a while. So yeah, as you can see, AI Suite 3 has some drawbacks with the conflict wise. DGD power control, it also has more overclocking settings. This is things that you normally change in your BIOS when you are overclocking. You can change them also here. Again, I'm not sure how it comes in terms of compatibility and keeping the BIOS working harmoniously with this program, and if there are conflicts or not, and if there are conflicts, what are the consequences. So uh, I don't know, use it at your own risk. I will do a separate video on the AI overclock, like I said, and as you will see, a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, for the video, but as you will see, you have to be extremely cautious when using that AI overclocking. So, and you have to be very conservative and double check every setting it puts there, because it might just get your PC a little bit out of control if you are not careful with what it does. Now, PC Cleaner cleans your junk files, basically temporary files, update files from Windows that are no longer in use, that sort of thing. It saves you some space. If you already run things like CCleaner regularly, it does not have much of a point. Easy update is what I showed you earlier for the BIOS updates. System information is pretty self-explanatory. It's literally just information on what parts you have and what version of drivers you have. And BIOS flashback, again, is to, well, check for BIOS updates, install them. that sort of thing, which is usually often best done manually, I find, but it is up to you. And then you have, yeah, AI suite information with what version you have and all that. CPU-Z is a system monitoring program that lets you basically monitor a lot of statistics from your computer, such as, for example, core speed and multiplier, what exactly what CPU you have, as well as details on all the components such as mainboard, memory, graphics card, and others. This is quite useful to keeping an eye on your PC, and there are other versions out there of other programs that also do similar, but this one again comes fully activated for your motherboard and for your computer, so you might as well use it. Keep in mind that this is the exact same as the normal CPU-Z, except, well, it comes with an ROG skin on it, which is nice, I guess. Daemon Tools comes included in your motherboard as well. It is a program that lets you manage virtual images of CDs and DVDs. So this means that you can basically back up your own physical CDs and DVDs on your computer, keep a digital library of those CDs and DVDs as ISO images that you can use by mounting it on virtual drives in the program, and you can also later on burn them to other CDs and DVDs to have them on the physical format again. There is a free version of this program, but your motherboard comes with a fully activated version that not naturally has more functionalities and is always handy to have. Aura is an RGB synchronization program and is actually one of the reasons I have bought an Asus motherboard. And I must say I am slightly disappointed with it. While it does do its job, kind of, it is not without its problems. Um, Sometimes it just crashes for no reason, and sometimes it just resets all of a sudden, be it in the middle of your activity and having your computer on, or on reboot, and you have to reset it again or reinstall it sometimes. It has happened to me a few times, not many, but it has happened, as well as some effects that are just completely unresponsive. For example, the rainbow effect that I have it on reverse, just reverses the flow of the colors in the other direction, basically, so no big deal. Although, if I don't have it on reverse, the fans will not sync up. Some fans will actually display the effect, other fans will be completely static and still, and other fans will revert to their own factory default setting and not sync up with the program itself. So it is not really working very smoothly. I have to say that this is a symptom of a much larger problem that I will address in the video very, very soon. It's already recorded and I will upload it after I upload this one, sometime after. So I will go into the detail a bit more. But RGB synchronization is basically a mess. Not just Asus, but most of the bigger brands are a mess in that aspect. And I will be going that on a separate video, so I don't take a lot of time in this video. Anyway, my major gripes with Aura, other than the actual functioning problems, are the lack of customization. You cannot select each individual LED on your LED strip or on your fans or on your controller hub. You cannot select every individual LED very easily, as you should considering they are addressable LEDs. For example, if I go here to breathing and I select by areas, which is the way that you can select, I have a lot of settings for the LEDs on the motherboard and such, and on the DIMMs from the RAM memory, for example. But when it comes to the controller that's plugged in to the Aura header, which is the controller that has my 8 fans and my AIO cooler in there, the LED on the pump, it is simply add strip 1. That's it. So I have 12 LEDs in each fan, plus I'm not even sure how many on the pump, and I can only control them as one unit. I cannot control it LED per LED. And that is an issue that, although did a lot of trash talking, Thermaltake, for their software, I could do that. Granted, it was a different connection via USB 2.0 header, but I could do that, and it's addressable RGB, and it is hardware-wise possible because that's what the system does when it is doing rainbow effects on your fans. So it is possible hardware-wise, but they do not give me that level of control myself, which is something that I really wanted when I wanted, addressable RGB, because that's what it means that you can address it. It's frustrating. I know. I will cut it short. Other than that, my other gripes is things like a lack of brightness control. On the color cycle, for example, why can't I adjust speed here? Music, the sensitivity is way too low for the lights to respond to the music. So there is just a general lack of customization, a lack of user control in here that is possible hardware-wise, but the software needs some serious attention. This is all I have to say now for Aura. I will expand on the whole RGB situation on a future video, which I will link here when it is up. Gamefirst is an application that supposedly, while you are gaming, makes sure that the internet packets that you are sending to the game server are prioritized over other background internet traffic that you might have going on your network. Now, while it is a good idea, in fact, the fact is that games these days, and with the internet connections that people usually have, do not only take a very small fraction of the total bandwidth. So it is usually not very helpful because it's not an issue anyway. Another issue that this thing does is that it does seem to take quite a chunk of CPU processing power, even at idle. So keep that in mind if you choose to use it, and I don't honestly see a lot of benefit in it. Ramdisk gives you an option to use a portion of your physical RAM as a sort of a virtual drive that you can store files or install games or applications to. The benefits of this are that your RAM is a lot faster than the hard drive, and anything that is stored on that RAM will be able to be accessed a lot faster than anything that you would have to load from a normal drive, even if it is an M2 drive or an SSD. Now, there are disadvantages to this, which are that RAM is a volatile type memory, so if it loses power, everything in it is lost. This is counteracted by RAM disk by backing up that data whenever you turn off your PC, for example. But in case of crashes and unexpected power loss, you will lose everything that is on that disk. So that is a big drawback and a big problem if you are using RAM disk. Another issue is that you will have to reserve a section of your hard drive of your RAM to actually be used as that virtual drive. So unless you have a massive amount of RAM, you are probably going to be missing it. So use it at your own care, but it's not something that I see myself using in the near future. Ramcache works similarly to Ramdisk, but on a more automatic way. It tries to just intelligently, I guess, cache whatever files you use the most on your RAM and similarly back them up and put them back in the RAM when you load the PC up again. Now it faces the same problems as RAM disk does, although since this is just caching them there and not actually storing them there physically, it kind of combats a bit the issue that you might have data loss in case of unexpected power loss. But again, it is the same story. It will reserve a chunk of your RAM that you might use for something else. And if you are if you have a fast system, you might not benefit from it much anyway, because we are talking about the difference of, let's say, a couple of seconds load time from your SSD as compared to, let's say, it's 5 seconds load time versus maybe 2 or 3. So are you really going to notice that? And is it worth risking a data loss for that? I am not sure it is. For both of these programs, I should add that people have tried to, for example, install programs and games on the virtual drive on the RAM, and they run into a lot of problems where those programs or games just simply disappear when they boot, and then they have to reinstall them again. So take it with a grain of salt when you try to do that with these programs, because it not always works as intended. Last but not least, Overwolf. Overwolf adds an overlay to several games that you play, as well as adding a sort of app store kind of thing that contains mods for several games, as you can see. These mods basically are plugins for its own in-game overlay that you can put a lot of things in those mods, like for example information about popular builds on a MOBA that you're playing, or information and guides for whatever game you are playing and want to look some information on the go without having to alt tab. It also has a streamer tracker that lets you track different streamers that you might want to follow and keep up to are they online and streaming or not, and do I want to follow and watch them through there here as well. If you are a fan of game overlays, this is one of the best. Myself, I prefer to play a game raw without much of that modification. But if you do want to have some accessible information while you are gaming and you want to just check it on the fly, this seems to be a very good option for that. Sonic Studio gives you some control of your system's sound effects and sound preferences. It has a basic and an advanced mode. As you can see, the basic mode gives you some very basic controls, as you could expect, like smart volume, voice clarity, bass boost, and that sort of thing, as well as a general equalizer, while the advanced mode lets you select a lot more settings and actually set them per each individual program. So per each program you can select what kind of settings you want to use, as well as individual customize those settings to your liking for that program. It also has a record studio option to for things like echo reduction, noise reduction, volume stabilizer for when you are talking on your microphone, as well as general settings that you can save, import, export, and so on. I will also mention that there is also another program that I will not review called Sonic Radar because I consider that a cheating program. It is geared at gamers and it puts a radar overlay on your map, on your over your game. I mean, that shows you where sound is coming from. As you can imagine, in shooter games where you need to know where you are being shot at from, that is a very unfair advantage, and I don't think it's very ethical for a board manufacturer geared towards gamers to be putting that sort of stuff that gives an unfair advantage to people in those games. So I will not be reviewing that, and honestly, I kind of hope you guys are not using it because I will not either. I'll end the video by showing you the firmware page where you can download all the up-to-date files for your motherboard. As you can see, there is a new version of the BIOS that has come out a couple days earlier that improves stability for different things, as well as driver updates and utility updates that you can download for all the stuff that I just showed you, as well as LAN drivers, audio drivers, Wi-Fi drivers, and all the such, as well as you can see here, Gamefirst installer, CPU-Z installer, Aura installer, and all of the like that I just mentioned. These versions are usually more up to date than the ones that you can find on Armoury Crate by quite a large margin. So this is the place to look if you are looking for updates. If you are downloading a BIOS update, just be extra sure that you are downloading it from the Asus official website and not from anyone else, and that you are getting the right one for your motherboard, because BIOS problems by flashing the wrong BIOS can be difficult to solve. If you are not really sure what you are doing and if you are not confident that you can do it properly, leave the BIOS alone. You will not notice many performance issues by not having the BIOS up to date, and it's one of those things that if you don't want to risk it, then don't, because there's not much to gain by messing with it. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Well, thanks for watching. Like as you saw, some of the programs are quite useful, others a bit less. I will let you guys do your own judgment of what you prefer and what you are going to use. And I hope this has been informative and helpful for you guys. This has been Ethic PC Guy. Remember, I will put a video for AI overclocking specifically, going full on detail on that, as well as a video about Aura and the general RGB synchronization universe that is kind of convoluted right now. So have fun, guys, and I'll see you next time.